The moment we opened this game, I thought it was going to be like any other horror title. You know, cheap jump scares, low-quality textures, some creepy sound effects to make you laugh more than scream. But this, the Mandela Catalogue, it felt different the second it loaded. The main menu wasn't flashy. No background music, just a faint hum, almost like static, buzzing inside my ears. It was unsettling in a way I can't fully explain. And that's when I realized this wasn't going to be just a game. At first, I tried to laugh it off. Okay, cool vibe, nothing crazy, I told myself. But then the cursor glitched, just for a split second, and I swear the shadows on the screen moved like they were breathing. My stomach dropped. I looked at my friend sitting next to me and said, "Did you see that?" He shook his head, but the look in his eyes told me he saw something too. That was the first time the silence between us actually felt heavy. When the game finally started, it threw us into this dimly lit room. Nothing in the room made sense. The walls seemed too long, the ceiling stretched way higher than it should, and the only sound was this ticking clock in the distance. Tick, tick, tick. Every second echoed like it was counting down to something. My hands were sweating, gripping the controller tighter than I wanted to admit. And then the lights flickered. Now, usually when lights flicker in a horror game, you brace for a jump scare, right? But nothing happened, nothing at all. Just the flicker, then silence again, and somehow that was worse. Because in the corner of my eye, for just half a second, I thought I saw a figure standing there. No face, no features, just watching. I froze, my chest tightened, and I whispered, "Don't move, don't look at it." But the moment I blinked, it was gone. We tried to move forward, slowly, inching through the hallway that seemed to stretch forever. Each step echoed way too loud, like our footsteps didn't belong in that space. The air felt heavier, thicker, like the game itself didn't want us there. And then we found the door. A plain wooden door at the end of the hallway. Easy, right, just open it. But the handle shook before we even touched it. That's when I leaned back in my chair, muttering, "Nope, nope, nope, nope." But curiosity won. It always does. I pushed the door open, and the screen went black. No loading screen, no transition, just black. And then, in the silence, we heard it, a voice. Not from the game, not from the speakers. It felt like it was coming from the room with us. Low, distorted, almost like a whisper crawling right into your ear. I couldn't make out the words, but I knew one thing, it wasn't friendly. And right when I leaned closer, straining to hear it better, that's when everything went wrong. The screen stayed pitch black for what felt like forever. My heart was pounding so hard I could actually hear it in my ears, and I whispered, "Is it broken? Did the game crash?" But then, just when we were about to reset, it came back on. Only this time, the world didn't look like the same hallway we were in before. Everything was wrong. The walls were distorted, stretched like melted plastic, and the shadows didn't match the objects. They moved slower, like they were alive. Lagging behind reality, I tried to laugh like, "Okay, good trick, creepy atmosphere, you got me," but my voice cracked. I wasn't fooling anyone, especially not myself. And then, in the distance, I saw a figure, not walking, not moving, just standing there at the end of the corridor. It was tall, too tall, its head tilted unnaturally to the side, like its neck was broken, but its body stayed completely still. The worst part, the game didn't even acknowledge it. No music, no jump scare, just silence. We froze, controllers in hand, not daring to press forward. My friend whispered, Do we go closer?" And I wanted to say no. Every bone in my body screamed no. But of course, curiosity dragged us forward. Each step felt heavier, like walking through water, and the closer we got, the clearer it became that the thing wasn't a character model at all. It looked human, but the face, oh God, the face was just wrong. It wasn't a face. It was like a copy of one. Eyes too wide, mouth stretched just enough to make you uncomfortable, like someone tried to draw a human from memory and failed. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just some monster, it was an alternate, straight out of the Mandela Catalogue, and we were walking right toward it. I swear it tilted its head further as we moved closer, and my stomach turned. My palms were drenched in sweat, but I couldn't stop. That's when the lights flickered again, and for one horrifying second, its face wasn't on the screen anymore, it was on mine, reflected in the glare, like it was looking out of the game and into me. I dropped the controller. My friend cursed under his breath, and neither of us moved. I tried to convince myself it was a glitch, a trick of the light, anything to make it less real, but when I picked the controller back up, the figure was gone, just gone, and then the game gave us a choice. Two doors appeared on the screen, side by side. No instructions, no text, just two doors. My friend laughed nervously and said, "Classic horror setup. Left or right, what's it gonna be?" But I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't just a random choice. The game wanted us to pick, like it was testing us. I turned to him and said, "We shouldn't choose at all. This feels like a trap." But before I could even finish my sentence, the game made the choice for us. The left door creaked open on its own, slowly, painfully, almost like it wanted us to hear every splinter of wood tearing apart. And what we saw behind it, that's the moment everything spiraled completely out of control. The door opened into a room that looked like it belonged in someone's house, but everything about it felt wrong. The furniture was there, sofa, lamp, coffee table, but the proportions were off. The sofa was too long, the lamp too tall, and the clock on the wall, oh, that clock. Its hands spun faster and faster, ticking loud enough to rattle in my chest, yet the time never changed. It stayed locked at 3:33. I stepped forward, controller trembling in my hands, and the air in the room seemed thicker than before. My friend muttered, "Dude, I don't like this. It feels like it knows we're here." I laughed nervously, trying to lighten the mood, but my laugh broke halfway, coming out more like a choke. Because deep down, I felt the same thing. Then we heard footsteps, not from the speakers. No, these were heavy, echoing, circling the room. My friend paused the game instantly, and for a terrifying second, the footsteps didn't stop. They kept going, even though the game was frozen on the screen. We both sat there, staring at each other in complete silence, not daring to breathe. I whispered, "Unpause it. Just unpause it." When he did, the footsteps stopped, but the character on the screen, our in-game self, wasn't standing anymore. It was sitting on the sofa, head tilted, staring directly at us. I actually leaned back in my chair, like getting farther away from the monitor would help. The game didn't give us any prompts, no instructions. The only option was to move closer. Against every ounce of better judgment, we did. Step by step, our character inched closer to the doppelganger sitting there, and when the two met, the screen flickered and swapped. Now the one sitting on the sofa wasn't the in-game character anymore. It was me. Same hoodie, same messy hair, even the scratch on my hand from earlier. I froze. My friend screamed, no way, that's you," and he wasn't joking. It was like the game had been watching me the whole time, waiting to put me inside. I wanted to quit. I really did, but the game didn't give me a way out. No pause menu this time, no options. Just a single line of text appearing at the bottom of the screen, glitching in and out of focus. "Do you want to continue?" We hesitated, staring at each other like idiots. "If we click no," I asked, "what happens?" He didn't answer. Instead, he pressed yes, and the second he did, the lamp in the corner of the room exploded into sparks. The screen filled with static, and behind the static was a face, not human, not even close. Its skin was pale, eyes hollow and wide, mouth stretched wider than any mouth should stretch. It whispered something, low, broken, but I couldn't understand the words. All I knew was that I wanted to rip the power cord out of the wall and run. But before I could even reach for it, the static cleared, and the game showed us a staircase leading down into the basement. And against all logic, all reason, all screaming instincts telling us no, we started walking down. The staircase stretched down farther than it should have. At first, I thought it was just a simple descent 10 steps, maybe 20, but we kept going. Step after step, the air got colder, the shadows darker, and the silence heavier. It didn't feel like a basement anymore. It felt endless, like we were descending into something we weren't supposed to see. My friend whispered, "How long is this? Basements don't go this deep." I tried to laugh, but my throat was dry. Every creak of the wooden steps made my skin crawl, and then, faintly, we heard it breathing. Not ours. Something slow and heavy, echoing just below us. We froze. The game gave no indication of what was ahead. No glowing marker, no quest log, just the sound of something waiting. I wanted to turn back, but when I tried moving the controller backwards, it didn't work. The character refused to climb up. It only went down. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, we reached the bottom. The screen flickered once, twice, then revealed a concrete floor. The room was massive, empty, with walls that looked like they stretched forever into the dark. In the middle of it, just barely visible in the glow of a single, dangling bulb, was a chair, and on that chair was a man. At least he looked like one. His hands were tied, head slumped forward, body twitching every few seconds like a puppet with cut strings. My friend whispered, "Do we help him? Is this like a quest?" But before I could even respond, the man lifted his head, and it was my friend's face. My blood ran cold. I dropped the controller again, staring at the screen in shock. The figure tied to the chair looked exactly like him. Same shirt, same hair, same nervous smile. The only difference, the eyes, they were hollow, black voids staring directly through me. "That's not me," he said quickly, almost defensively. "That's not me." But the figure tilted its head and, in a distorted voice, whispered his name, slowly, deliberately, like it knew us. We sat frozen, neither of us daring to move. The game gave us a prompt. Set him free. Yes or no. My friend yelled, Don't press yes, but the controller vibrated in my hands, forcing my thumb closer to the button. I swear, it felt like something else was controlling it. I fought back, trying to resist, but the game wouldn't let me. With one final jolt, the button pressed on its own, the rope snapped, and the figure stood up. For a second, I thought maybe we'd freed him, maybe it was over, but then the screen went black. Only the sound of footsteps echoed in the dark, slow, heavy, getting closer and closer. We leaned forward, holding our breath, and then bang! A pale hand slammed against the screen from the inside. The glass cracked. Not an animation, not a glitch, actual cracks spider webbing across the monitor. That's when I realized this wasn't just a game anymore. It wanted out, and then the power went out. The room went dark, not just the game, my whole setup. The monitor shut off, the lights in my room flickered, even the hum of the PC fan died. For a few seconds, there was nothing but silence. Kind of silence where your own heartbeat feels too loud. I whispered, "Okay, maybe we just blew a fuse," but deep down, I knew that wasn't it. And then, just as suddenly, the screen lit back up. But it wasn't the game menu. It wasn't even the basement we'd left. It was my webcam feed, full screen, us sitting there staring at ourselves. My friend jumped back in his chair, shouting, "No way." Nope, shut it off, but there was no way to exit. No task manager, no escape key, nothing. It was just us, sitting there, staring. Except after a few seconds, I noticed something. The version of us on the screen wasn't moving in sync anymore. My friend scratched his arm in real life, but the screen version didn't. I blinked, but my reflection just kept staring, eyes wide, unblinking, smiling. Slightly wider than before. I laughed nervously. Heh, maybe it's like a creepy filter, some ARG thing. But my voice cracked halfway through, and I could hear how fake it sounded. My reflection leaned forward, closer to the camera, while I sat frozen in place. That's when my stomach dropped. Whatever we were watching wasn't us. Then the screen glitched, and a text box appeared under our doppelgangers. Only one can stay. My friend panicked. What the hell does that mean? One of us has to go. Before I could even react, the game gave me control again. The cursor hovered between two options, him or you. I swear my hand started moving on its own again, dragging toward one of the choices. I yelled, trying to stop it, but the mouse fought back like it had a will of its own. My friend was screaming, "Don't pick me. Don't you dare pick me." And I just shouted back, "I'm not. It's not me." But the cursor kept inching toward one option anyway. right before it clicked. Screen went black again. For one moment, I thought we'd escaped, but then the speakers erupted with distorted laughter, not normal laughter. This was deep, warped, broken, echoing all around us. Then the game threw us back into a room. Empty white walls, no doors, no windows, just one object sitting in the center, a mirror. We walked up to it slowly, knowing something was coming. Reflection in the mirror wasn't our character anymore. It wasn't even us. It was something else, tall, twisted. Its smile stretched from ear to ear, and as it leaned closer to the glass, whispering words we couldn't understand, the cracks started forming again. This time, not just on the monitor, on the mirror in the room too. And I knew whatever was on the other side, it was trying to cross over. The cracks spread across the glass like spiderwebs, each one louder than the last. My friend was yelling, "Shut it off. Just shut it, OFF." But I couldn't. The power button didn't work. The cables didn't matter. It was like the game had taken over everything. Then, with one final shatter, the screen went white. Not black, white. So bright it stung my eyes. And when the light faded, we weren't in the game anymore. Or at least it didn't feel like a game. The room on the screen looked exactly like mine. Same desk. Same chair. Same posters on the wall. Only it wasn't us sitting there anymore. Two figures were in our place. Pale, twisted versions of us. Eyes wide, mouths grinning like broken masks. They moved slowly, almost mockingly, lifting their hands in unison to wave. My friend whispered, barely audible, that's us. That's supposed to be us." And then the figures spoke, both at the same time, in a warped, overlapping voice. "You should not have stayed." The speakers screeched with static, and the entire room shook. My desk rattled, the lamp flickered, and I swear I felt the cold air of something standing right behind me. I didn't want to turn around. I couldn't turn around. Every instinct told me if I looked, I wouldn't like what I saw. Then the figures on the screen leaned so close their faces filled the monitor. Their wide, glassy eyes stared right into mine, and in the most distorted, broken voice, one word slipped through the static: "Run." The game crashed. The PC turned off. Silence. We sat there for what felt like hours, too scared to move, too scared to speak. My heart was still pounding in my chest, my hands shaking like crazy. My friend finally broke the silence, whispering, "We're never playing that again." I laughed nervously, but it was the only thing keeping me from screaming. And honestly, safe to say, we're never opening the Mandela Catalogue at night again. But hey, if you're brave enough, maybe you should try. Just don't blame me. If you see something watching you from the dark,